Welcome to NJ Law, the program designed to inform and educate you about the inner workings of our criminal justice system, allowing you to speak directly to New Jersey law enforcement officials who make the decisions in our two-county area. Your host, Detective Sergeant Kevin Quinn of the Township of Ocean Police Department, is an 11-year veteran police officer. He has taught at the Monmouth County Police Academy and has lectured at Monmouth College and Brookdale College.
Hi, and welcome to NJ Law Live. I'm Detective Sergeant Kevin Quinn from the Township of Ocean Police, and before I introduce my guest this evening, I'd like to give you a little overview on why this show started. TV 34, in cooperation with local law enforcement officials, decided that an educational and informative show on the criminal justice system would be in order. To that end, we give you this show. It'll be on once a month on Thursday, tonight, and again on September 15th. And the first thing we will do at each show is to speak about a fugitive from either Monmouth or Ocean County. Tonight's fugitive we are going to speak about is Derek Edwards, who is also known as Derek E. Williams, who also goes by the name of Understanding, which is a name associated with the Five Percenter cult. Derek Edwards is wanted for unlawful possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose, and murder. He is described as a black male. Height is 5'4", weight is 135 pounds, with black hair, brown eyes, medium complexion, and his last known address was 257 Fisher Avenue in Neptune, New Jersey. His date of birth is 10/4/64, which makes him 24, and he has a scar under his chin and was born in Brooklyn. It is alleged that on October 20th, 1987, he did murder a Jonathan Clark by shooting him in the head with a firearm while the victim was a passenger in a motor vehicle in Neptune, New Jersey. He is also charged with aggravated assault and possession of a weapon for an unlawful purpose and unlawful possession of a weapon. Williams or Edwards should be considered armed and dangerous. If you have any information as to his whereabouts, you'll see a number, an 800 number, on your screen right above his photo. That's 1-800-356-3784. This number goes directly to the radio room at the Monmouth County Sheriff's Department, and they will pass on any information. Again, anytime you have any information on Mr. Edwards or any other fugitive, please call 1-800-356-3784. Our number here at the studio, if you have any questions for our guests, will be 681-3330. That's 681-3330, and that will appear from time to time at the bottom of your screen. This evening, my guests are the Honorable John Kaye, who is the prosecutor of Monmouth County, New Jersey, and also First Assistant Prosecutor Terry Farley from the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office. Both men are the top men in their field and are the prosecutors who oversee all law enforcement activities in their respective counties, and we will have a very interesting conversation. Once again, if you call 681-3330, you can call right into the studio with your calls, which we will be taking any minute, so you can start calling in now if you wish. I'd like to welcome both of you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming. I know you had to take time out from busy schedules. What I'd like to do is, in keeping with the philosophy of the show, just get an overview of what the prosecutor's job function is in the respective counties. Maybe we can start with Mr. Kaye.
County prosecutor is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. That makes him in New Jersey very dissimilar from his counterparts in the rest of the country. The rest of the country, law enforcement is divided between a district attorney who's elected and a sheriff who's also elected. In New Jersey, the prosecutor is not elected. He's appointed by the governor with the advice and consent of the Senate. And the result is he's not just restricted to a courtroom like a district attorney is, nor is he restricted just to arrest like a sheriff is. Actually, the prosecutor combines both. He is supposedly in charge of all elements of law enforcement, and they're to act under and by his direction. It's a very unique system. There's only one other state that is even close to that, and that's Connecticut. Now, in Monmouth County, we have 53 municipalities. We have about 540,000 permanent residents. We have a lot of summertime people. And we have 48 police departments, plus state police and a lot of other law enforcement people. So it's a big, thriving county, and just about everything that happens one way or another in law enforcement either comes through or starts in the prosecutor's office.
Does the prosecutor serve at the pleasure of the governor, or is he appointed to a specific term?
We get a 5-year term. Of course, the governor's term is 4 years, so the idea is that it doesn't exactly equate with the governor. It's a political position. I mean, don't get anything wrong about that. I mean, the fact is, I'm a Republican. I was appointed by a Republican governor with a Democratic Senate, of course. I replaced a Democrat who was appointed by a Democratic governor. But that doesn't always hold. The prosecutor of Union County, John Stamler, is a Democrat who was reappointed by Governor Kaye. So politics plays a role in being chosen. And to actually get the job, it doesn't play that much of a role, because we have to go through a tremendous shakeout process. I mean, we have to go through the local bar and be approved by them, through the state bar, then through an FBI check, a state police check, the state senate, and believe me, by the time you're done, it's a ringing experience. Whereas in other states, and one of the big knocks on district attorneys throughout the nation is anybody can just buy a bumper sticker and run. The result is, in many places, they don't have the people that are the best qualified to be in that particular job. I think New Jersey system has proved to be a very workable one. We've rarely, if ever, had a scandal or a problem in a prosecutor's office in this state.
As a matter of fact, your predecessor, Mr. Lair, was appointed as a judge. Now, was that by the governor? Does the governor
well, the way
recommend the judges?
All right, the way the judgeships work is by agreement between both parties, since we don't elect judges. I mean, they elect judges in Pennsylvania, New York, and other states. You must have a balance between Democrats and Republicans. Mr. Lair is a Democrat. He was nominated to the bench by Tom Kaye, a Republican. My first assistant, up until a few months ago, Paul Chayette, he has just become a Superior Court judge. He was also a Democrat, but again nominated by Governor Kaye. But in the meantime, they also had 2 Republicans, so everything evens out.
Do you have aspirations for a judgeship after?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't. I've been very candid on that subject. I've turned it down 7 times, and there's a lot of reasons, but I think the main reason is I'm just too young for that. I'm not partial to black.
Mr. Farley, is there anything really different in Ocean County? How about relative size to Monmouth County?
Yeah, we're just a little bit smaller. We have 432,000 full-time residents, and of course have basically the same type of situation that John has in Monmouth County, in that we have a very large influx of summer people, both being primarily shore communities. So we have problems that are unique to our counties that a lot of other prosecutors don't see. I agree with everything that John said about our system. We do have a very unique system in New Jersey. I've had the opportunity, since I've had this job, to do a lot of traveling, because we started a new narcotics task force that I have a great deal to do with, and it's been a real learning experience for me. So I've been around the country, and I've met a lot of other prosecutors and district attorneys, and the strong prosecutor system that we have in New Jersey is really, as I see it, the envy of most of the country.
As far as staff-wise goes in each of the respective counties, maybe you could start, Mr. Farley. How many staff attorneys or assistant prosecutors do you have in it?
We have a unique system yet in Ocean County. We're one of the last 2 counties in the state that still has part-time assistants. All of John's assistants are full-time, my understanding is, anyhow. We have 18 attorneys. 10 are full-time and 8 are part-time. And there will be another one appointed within next month, so that we'll be up to the highest level that we've ever had. But we, as I said, we do have that unusual situation that goes way back in Ocean County, that most of our actual trial lawyers, the guys who handle most of the major cases, are lawyers who have private civil practices and work for us on a part-time basis.
Along with Ocean County seems to be growing in leaps and bounds, just from what I see riding through the area, even having contact with some of the Ocean County police departments. Is that growth, like, not so much out of control, but so much so that there's going to have to be some drastic changes in the prosecutor's office?
Well, there have been some drastic changes. I guess in the last 20 years, Ocean County has probably been the fastest growing county in the United States, about 10 of the last 20 years, not just New Jersey, but nationally. And there have been some real drastic changes since Jim Holzapfel came in just a little bit over a year ago. Our staff has been increased greatly. The amount of money that has come into the prosecutor's office through his efforts through the Freeholders Board has been tremendous. We've been real fortunate. As I mentioned, we formed a new narcotics task force. We got a federal and state grant for almost $270,000. And things are really moving, trying to keep up with the pace. It's a very difficult thing, and from a political standpoint, of course, the freeholders see that we do have a burgeoning county, and they have really been, from our standpoint, tremendous.
You mentioned the narcotics task force. I'm familiar with this setup, which we'll talk about in a moment, of the Monmouth County Narcotics Strike Force. Is it set up pretty much the same? Is it a lone officers type operation?
Yes, it's very similar to yours. Yours has been in operation much longer than ours, obviously. We have 20-some officers. I never talk about actual specifics in it. We have about 12 officers or so who come from municipalities who come to work for us for a period of a year or so. They get some additional training from us and basically go undercover in areas where they're not known. And it's, to me, a tremendous benefit. I don't know of many programs any place in the country that work any better than our county-wide narcotics strike forces in New Jersey.
I know that one of the main problems in law enforcement, just from my side, I don't know if you guys agree, is the influx of drugs into the whole society as a whole. It just touches everything. I don't remember the last time I arrested somebody, honestly, who didn't have either a drug or an alcohol problem.
No, it's clearly the number one problem in the country. I don't think there's any question about it.
Do you have any other specialized sections in Ocean County?
We have just about everybody is in a specialized unit. We have a major crimes unit that handles homicides and major frauds and things like that. We have a specialized fugitive unit. We have a grand jury unit that prepares all criminal cases for the actual trials. We have a domestic violence unit and crimes against the elderly unit. I can go on, but we do, people specialize in sexual assaults against children and things like that. But just about everybody in our office, and I'm pretty sure it's the same way in Johns and most of the counties throughout New Jersey, does have a specific specialty, and those people, as often as we can, get specialized training so that they're out there at the forefront in their field. I think we have some just tremendous people working for us.
Mr. Kaye, how about in Monmouth County? I know there are some specialized sections. Maybe you could, as far as the investigators are concerned, maybe as an overview, you could explain kind of what a county investigator is as opposed to a local law enforcement officer, and then maybe some of the different sections you have.
Well, not to be facetious about it, but it's usually a veteran police officer who got tired of wearing a uniform. It's a fella or a gal who is at pretty much the top of their field in a local police department, who want to spend more time on investigation than on other police matters like traffic and community relations and so many things that involve the uniformed police officer's day. So what happens, I recruit, and I know that Jim and Terry do too, right from the police community. We bring people in who are veterans in their field. Mm-hmm. They may have an expertise. If they don't, they find one. And what we do is, in the investigation side, just like Ocean County and like the other counties, we have specialists. We have specialists in arson. We have specialists in environment. And they're there to help the local police who may not have that training because their municipality doesn't have the resources to give them that training. You know, a lot of the towns, of the 53 municipalities in Monmouth County, not every one of them is the size of the town that you're from, Ocean Township. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of small towns that only have a few police officers. They have a very tight budget. We have some towns that's still the state police patrol. So they don't have, if they have a fire or they have a murder, and or they find a barrel on the side of the road with a skull and crossbones on it or something, it's not something that they're used to handling, and we provide the expertise in that. You know, we don't steal their case from them,
Right.
but we help them out with it so that we can convict the person that did it. That's the whole idea.
Absolutely. As far as the different sections or groups of investigators that you have grouped into different crime areas, I know you have an environmental unit.
Yeah, we have the only one in the state, and that's no knock at Ocean County. But for local prosecutors' office, we have the only one. And one of the major reasons is that I'm a fisherman, as you probably know, and I keep a boat down here in Brielle, and I love this ocean. And I take a great interest in it. And the freeholders also did too. So we created a unit almost 5 years ago, and it's very well funded, and it's very aggressive. And I mean, we really do some fantastic things.
I see we have some callers, so why don't we go to the phones and find out what we have. Hi, you're on NJ Law Live. Could you give us our name and your question?
Hello.
Hi, could you give me your name and your question?
My name is Ben Leibowitz. I'm calling from Lakewood.
Yes, sir.
I have contacted a number of law enforcement people by phone and by letter over the course of a number of years, and I've been particularly concerned about the laws of evidence, specifically as regards narcotics. I know this is a problem. It's always been a problem of logistics, of security, and the whole thing. And my views have always been this. Narcotics themselves are held as evidence to be presented to a jury or for the satisfaction of a defense attorney. One, so that the prosecuting attorney can make a great big impression by the quantity of this stuff, if it goes into hundreds of pounds or whatever. It's very impressive. And the defense attorney can always bring up the question of, is it really narcotics? Is my client the one who really got involved in this? And how pure is it, or whatever? I say this. You treat narcotics like garbage. You get everybody together in the form of a committee or a forum on both sides, defense and prosecution. And let us hammer out a situation whereby everybody is satisfied, okay? It's brought in. It's analyzed by a laboratory or laboratories to everybody's satisfaction, okay? Everybody is satisfied as to quantitative and qualitative analysis. It's right there. It's then converted to paper, as many copies as is necessary, with all the affidavits and the testing and the whole works. Everybody is satisfied that this is real. And then it's put into as many files as will satisfy everybody. Okay? You want to present something impressive to a jury, you show them flour in the same containers. It's just as impressive. It looks exactly like the real thing.
Well,
and then you flush the damn stuff down the toilet where it belongs.
No, you don't do that.
You see? That's exactly the kind of thinking I've encountered.
No, I didn't mean that. I mean, you dispose of it, but you don't flush it down the toilet, because unfortunately the toilet's going to take it into the ocean or one of our tributaries.
I forgot. I'm talking to a fisherman.
That's right. Now, as a matter of fact, right now, there are a lot of efforts in that regard. There are court rules on it, evidence rules, where we have large quantities of, say, marijuana, for example, which gets quite bulky. Nobody needs it around. We don't have the space. There's always the temptation that the police officer might go wrong to, and he might end up trying to dispose of it improperly. So we are making great efforts in that regard to videotape it, have it tested, provide the test results, provide an opportunity for the defense to come in and do their tests, give them a certain specific time period. And then what we do is we incinerate it. In fact, where they do it in Pittsburgh, excuse me, not in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh Steel Plant in Philadelphia, where it's actually vaporized. As soon as it gets near that smelter, it's just gone.
Right, this makes sense.
Well, let me ask Mr. Farley if he could comment, because I know Ocean County is one of the few counties that has their own criminalistics laboratory.
The new Comprehensive Drug Reform Act of 1987 provides specifically for the use of certificates from recognized laboratories instead of the actual drugs, and the same thing occurs in Ocean County. We have it destroyed when we can. It certainly is a problem, and you obviously have some interest in law enforcement that you would bring up something this specific, but it is something that was looked at directly by the Attorney General's office when they formulated the new statute, and it has been addressed.
Right.
I hope that answers your question, sir.
Right.
Thank you for
May
calling.
I ask one more question?
If it's quick.
Okay, real fast. The destruction of firearms, confiscated firearms. I know that these are brought out at great expense and, again, with great security for dumping in the ocean or whatever, smelting down. Why can't everybody just have a simple bandsaw and cut right across the chambers of every piece? Why is there so much respect for these beautiful weapons?
Well, I think Mr. Kaye has an answer for that.
Well, as a matter of fact, that goes down in the same shipment. Firearms are a very unique thing because they touch off so many emotional chords in Americans. Maybe we've
Right.
all been raised on Westerns or something. But we have a tremendous resistance, even on the part of law enforcement community, to actually go and finally destroy these guns. But when they are destroyed, they hit the same smelter. That's precisely what they do. We have a mandate, by the way. We have a court rule which requires us to dispose of these. I can tell you about one that we have in Monmouth County that I've been reluctant to get rid of, and it's the strangest thing. It's an 1812 Navy boarding pistol with a fixed bayonet on it that was used in a delicatessen robbery. Now, the thing is probably worth, quite a bit of money. It's certainly an antique. It's an unusual gun, and we have to destroy it. We keep holding it in the hope that at some point we may be able to auction it to a collector and get some money back to the county, but I don't see the law changing. I don't think it's going to change.
Okay, thank you for your call, sir.
Thank you.
And we'll take a second call. Hi, you're on NJ Law Live. Can you give us your name and your question, please?
Yeah, hi, Prosecutor Kaye?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I got a question for you. Is the amount of drugs that are seized, is that equal, to the salaries and benefits paid to your investigators?
The amount of drugs, I don't know. It probably not. At least not in Monmouth County. I mean, if you worked it out statewide.
Because what you're saying is it's not cost effective.
No, I don't think so. I really don't.
Why do you continue to do it?
Well, we continue to do it because it's against the law. And I personally believe that drugs are such a pernicious effect upon the people that we have an obligation to do it, in spite of the fact that we're
For the
mandated.
taxpayers, it's obviously more expensive trying to stop the problem than it is worthwhile to, the effects that you're having.
You're correct in the regard that law enforcement has not had a great impact
That
upon
doesn't
the
even
drug
include,
trade.
prosecutorial costs, court costs, and such, furthermore.
You're right. It's only one aspect of the program, and I think that you'll see that Ocean County and the other counties have all
No, we're
gotten
talking
together.
about Monmouth County here.
Yeah, all right. In Monmouth County, the same thing. I started right off working in the schools and trying to develop an education program which would go hand in hand with the prosecutorial program. I have no choice. I mean, I can't ignore drugs. I mean, if it's there, we've got to arrest, we've got to prosecute. That's
Oh, I have a
that's
question
the way
for
it
you,
is.
okay?
Yeah.
I recently happened to drive. I was going to see a band at Stone Pony,
Mm-hmm.
driving down Lake Avenue. I stopped at a stoplight. I had 3 people approach me to sell me drugs, and I can't figure out why they can't arrest these people that are blatantly selling it out in the open.
Asbury Park, right?
Asbury Park, Lake Avenue.
Yeah. It's a tremendous problem, and it's not just limited to Asbury Park. We make an incredible amount of drug arrests in Asbury Park. The people serve a short amount of time, they're back out on the street serving it again. Of all the arrests that we've made within the 1,000-foot school zone, however, the 49 arrests that we've made so far in the county, 44 of them have been Asbury Park, so at least those 44 people will serve a minimum of 3 years.
Okay.
But
Thank
it's
you very
not
much.
the
I
answer.
appreciate your time.
Right.
Thank you for calling, sir. You did mention the 1,000-foot school zone, and I think
Right.
that's a great, it fosters a great bit of confusion among the public. I get questions on it all the time. I go to the schools, people see drug-free school zone signs, and you get the usual comments about free drugs and things. Maybe you could explain what
Why don't
the,
you-
the theory is behind that.
Purpose of the signs was to be one element of the overall philosophy of the Attorney General and Governor Kaye to have our schools to be drug-free zones. When Governor Kaye wrote the master plan for drug-free New Jersey 3 years ago, and subsequently Attorney General's office wrote the 1987 Comprehensive Drug Reform Act, it was to reflect one thing. You have an obligation as a parent to send a child to school, be it 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours a day. You're mandated by law to do that until that child's 16. And the philosophy is that if we're going to make you send your child to that school, we as a society owe you an obligation to guarantee you that your child will be in a drug-free zone at least during that 5, 6, or 8 hours that they're in school. The rest of the time, you as a parent ought to be able to oversee the actions and activities of your children, to know who their friends are, to know where they are, know what they're doing. But we want to be able to guarantee you as public officials that when your child's away in school or on the school bus, that he is going to be in a drug-free atmosphere. Very, very simple. That's it. In announcing that part of that program, as Prosecutor Kaye has indicated, they have 44 people in Asbury Park alone who have sold within that 1,000-foot zone. Those people face mandatory jail sentences for doing that, in addition to the other penalties that they would have faced had it not been within the 1,000-foot zone. The signs are there for only one reason, to remind you as a parent, to remind the bad guys, every day of the week, that 365 days a year, we have this zone around every school property within the state of New Jersey that should be drug-free. And if you're going to violate that area, you're going to face substantial penalties and guaranteed jail sentences.
Kevin, you should be aware of one quick thing, and anybody that's watching in. Those signs aren't exactly 1,000 feet. Right. You know, that doesn't mean you can stand on one side of the sign and say, I'm okay with my sales. In fact, some undercover narcotics people with tongue-in-cheek suggested that all of the signs be placed exactly 950 feet from the school zones. There's no guarantee that those signs are there at a specific perimeter. It's 1,000 feet from the property, and it also includes from school buses and conveyances. So you're talking about a pretty wide area. In fact, in some municipalities, in fact, this is the reason why Asbury Park has so many. Asbury Park's a small town. It has many schools. When you draw that 1,000-foot, you cover practically the entire municipality. So, you know, there aren't too many places where you could sell drugs.
And as I understand the law, it's no defense under the law that you didn't know you were in the zone. So right. Whether a sign was stolen, defaced, or just missing doesn't give you an automatic out.
The sign is nothing more than some extra notice to you that the Attorney General felt would be appropriate. As a matter of fact, the amendments that were just passed on June 28th of this year indicate clearly that that 1,000-foot zone applies 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, whether there are children present or not children present. We have created this zone because we know that not only do kids hang around in schoolyards when school's in session, but they naturally congregate there at other times to play basketball or baseball or stickball, whatever it is that they're doing, or to ride their bikes or their skateboards or whatever. So that 1,000-foot zone is 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And anyone who deals drugs, and they don't have to deal with juveniles, within that 1,000-foot zone is looking at a guaranteed substantial jail sentence.
Right. Very good. I see we have another call. Hi, welcome to NJ Law Live. Could you give us your name and your question, please?
Yeah, it's Linda Shields. How are you tonight?
Just fine.
Okay, my question is noise. I live in Neptune Township, and apparently there is no restriction to when you can make noise in this township. Now, I was wondering, are other municipalities like that? Is it a county thing, or is it statewide that there is no noise control? People have chopped down trees at 6 o'clock in the morning around here. They beeped horns and picked up people at 1:30 in the morning. Is there no noise control at all? Normally,
Ms. Shields, that's subject to a municipal ordinance. And If I didn't know that Neptune Township didn't have one, I thought most towns did. And
I have called, on several occasions when